Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 16 of the Culturecast. This is eXp Culturecast, which is eXp's official diversity, equity, and inclusion podcast. I'm your host, Cody Gilkison, Senior Manager of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And my special guest today is Miss Carlie Fink-Maddux, one of my favorite people, the co-chair of the Healthy Mind Collective, our mental health 1EXP resource group. And today we're going to be talking about holiday blues and what it can be like. You know, everybody's got struggles and mental health stuff in the holidays, from anxiety to maybe grief and sadness and, all that stuff. So welcome, Carlie.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here.
For anybody that hasn't met you, can you give us a little bit of background on yourself?
Sure. So I am also staff with eXp. I've been with the company for 5 years, and I'm the director of global transactions, as well as the co-chair for Healthy Mind Collective. I have a huge passion for mental health, all things mental health. I'm a yoga instructor. I lead a lot of meditations for eXp. And so, a lot of stuff with this holiday blues is coming up, and I think it's important for us to talk about and, deal with our mental health and the holiday blues that we have.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And, Carlie, for me, you've always been someone who I think is able to manage your work-life balance really well and maintain that focus on your personal to keep your mental health strong. And I really admire that in you, right? You're somebody that I look up to in that stance. There are times when I'm like, Carlie, I need you to do this. And you're like, I'm having whatever, like I'm doing what I need to do to take care of myself. And that's beautiful. I wish more people had that power to say that,
Yes.
It's great. So
I wasn't always like that.
Yeah. So tell me about that. It sounds like there's a story there.
I used to be the biggest people pleaser. I still have those tendencies, right, that go that way. And I just would yes to everybody. And I was so overwhelmed and stressed out all the time that I felt like I couldn't even enjoy anything anymore. I had no time for myself. I had no time for my family. I wasn't present in anything that I was doing because I was thinking about all the other things that I had to do. And I had to do a lot of work on myself, a lot of self-reflection, to really see the patterns, right? That I would say, I'm going to say no this time. I'm going to say no this time. And then I'd get face to face with them and I just couldn't bring myself to say no. So then I'd say yes. And I did the work. And it was literally the first time that I said no to somebody. It felt so empowering. And the person wasn't even upset, right? I was so worried that they were going to be upset at me and, not ask me to do something again and they were totally understanding. And I was like, I have been creating all of this in my head, right? And it's most likely wouldn't even have been a big deal. So I've been creating all this stress for myself. And so I really, really think it was just the courage for the first time to turn something down. And now, I know where my limits are. I know what I can handle and what I can't handle as far as work. And so you have to set boundaries.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that, any good manager, we've talked about this before, if you tuned into our ADHD panel, any good manager is willing to give their employees the grace to know that they're going to be able to get the work done in the time allotted, maybe not following the exact steps that were given, right? And maybe not, like, some people can get all that work done in 2 hours and then space out for 2 hours and come back for 2 hours, and they did the same amount of work as somebody else did in 6 hours, right?
Yep.
So, yeah. So let's talk specifically about the holiday season. There's a lot of societal expectation of joy, right? It's on everything. Like I feel like at my mother-in-law's house, there's like hand towels that say joy, and like, everything is joy, joy, joy. So how can we as individuals like navigate and cope with that unique challenge of the holiday blues when there's that expectation put on us?
So do you know what is so funny is that literally yesterday, I walked from upstairs to the living room, and it was like 11 o'clock, Tiffany was sitting there working, and she just stopped and she said, I just feel really sad. And she's like, I don't know why. She's like, I just feel really sad. And I feel like I'm not supposed to because it's Christmas time, it's holiday time. Like there's so much happening. Everybody's so happy. But she's like, I just feel sad. And I'm like, that's okay. Just because like that everything is happy around you doesn't mean that you have to feel that way as well. And I think even us as people, right? Like, so just in her head, she felt like she was wrong for feeling sad at this time. And I'm like, regardless of what time of the year it is, what season it is, we are allowed to feel our feelings and be valid in our feelings. And we're allowed to feel sad during these times, whether you have a reason or not, right? Or we're human. Sometimes we just have emotions for no reason.
That's it, right? And it's kind of, it's your party, you can cry if you want to, kind of deal, right? Like nobody can stop you. No amount of specialness of a day or a season or whatever can stop that, and it only is going to make it worse if you deny that or give yourself a sense of shame over it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, but I think that for, we've talked about this before. What did we call it? There's people that are positive, right? And happy all the time. And then there's like, but they understand also people who are not like that and negative feelings. But then there's those people that are like happy pushers, right? Like, what did we call that? What do we call that?
Positivity.
Well, yes, that's what it is. I couldn't think of what I was trying to say. Toxic positivity. And I think that sometimes, especially around this year, a lot of that comes out, right? Like you can't say anything bad about Christmas. You can't have negative feelings right now, negative thoughts right now, because it's just supposed to be happy, happy, happy. It's joy everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's not the case for honestly probably most of America, right? And not even America, most of the world, right?
Yeah. And sitting here talking about it, it sounds like something that's crazy, right? But then it's not unrealistic for somebody. I think maybe all of us have probably heard, you can't be sad during Christmas, right? You can't be sad. It's Christmas.
I know.
Put a smile on. You're going to get a present,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So I think, and I'm sure that I've been guilty of saying that to somebody, right? Like I 100% sure I've been like, oh, you can't, like wipe that, mean face off. Like don't be a Grinch,
Yeah. Don't be a Grinch. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think we just have to, as people, be conscious of it. And just know that everybody is going through different circumstances, and the way that we feel and that we think is not going to be the same for everybody. So I think, especially at this time of year, we have to give people more grace.
Yeah, we really do. And let's talk about some of the triggers, right? Like some of the stuff that could be going on in somebody's life. Because I always believe you never know what's going on in somebody else's story, right? You're not the main character of their story, right?
No.
So, like, what are some triggers that can contribute to those feelings of like sadness and loneliness and anxiety in the holidays?
Well, family, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have a friend who she is just not herself right now. I mean, she just is flying off the handle about everything and just being super emotional and like irrational about things. And I was like, what is going on? And then I realized that she just lost her father recently, a couple months back. And this is her first year now with no parents at all because her mom passed away a couple years ago. And so I should have realized, right? Because I've been seeing her post on social media, like old Christmas videos from when she was a kid of like her family. And so right now she's just super triggered because this is her first Christmas with no family, right? So talking about any kind of family get-togethers or like I'm going to my parents, this day, then just that's a trigger for her because she has no parents left, right? And I mean, it's not like I shouldn't be able to say that, right? But it's also then I have to understand why if somebody doesn't respond well to it, that it's because it's a trigger for them, right? Like they're going through, their first holiday without their parents. I think a lot of the family-ness, right, of this holiday in particular, is hard for a lot of people who don't have relationships with their parents or don't have parents at all, or, just
or live really far away. That's my
yeah,
situation.
exactly.
I
Live
haven't had
really
a family
far away.
Christmas in a decade,
Yeah. So I think anything right surrounding family is a huge trigger for people. I think also there's a lot of parties around this time, right? So a lot of alcohol is very triggering for people as well, right? Because they go to these parties and everyone's drinking and doing all of these things and they're not, and it feels very lonely and isolating. So
and I also would add to that, I think, for folks, a lot of time financially the holidays are tough.
Oh yeah.
Right. You want to get what your kid wants. Particularly for parents, financially it can be rough because there are folks that really break the bank on Christmas, right, and go above and beyond. And there are folks that do as much as they can, and then the purse strings are tight.
Yeah.
And all of that creates a lot of anxiety and a lot of expectation.
Yes.
Yeah.
You always see people posting these times of year about like, remember, not everybody's Santa is the same, right? So your kids go to school and they're like, oh, Santa brought me I don't even know what gaming systems are cool these days.
Right, like a PlayStation 5, yeah.
Sure, okay, yeah. And then this kid over here is like, oh, well, Santa brought me socks, So it's always, for me at least, Santa brings little things, like maybe a book or, something to wear, things like that. And then parents, grandparents, things like that get bigger things. So I think it's always.
That's fair. Yeah, that's good. And I think we have a really toxic expectation around Christmas from just watching television in the Christmas season. All of the ads on kids' TV are for expensive things. And then we see ads like jewelry commercials, right, with women getting diamond bracelets and all this kind of stuff, or the famous one, a car with a big red bow on it, which is crazy, right? And then kids have in their mind, I could get something comparable to that, right? It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah.
Too much media.
Yeah.
Too much materialistic things in the media.
Yeah. Which
that consumerism
it's a big trigger. It's a big trigger.
It is.
I could feel it in my gut. There was a time when me and my husband had foster kids, and we were definitely living paycheck to paycheck at that point. And people think that foster income is, just, oh, we're rolling in the money because we're getting another income, but like it is not all that. It's enough to feed them, and that's about it, right? So when Christmas rolls around and the ads start coming on TV, every time one comes on, you get a knot in your stomach, like, please don't say you want this. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm a big, big believer, and I think even kids like it up to adults. If you do a well thought out, potentially made by you gift, it's not as expensive, and it's something they'll remember forever. I'm kind of a more personal touch gift than a big expensive gift kind of person, right?
Absolutely.
Or you get your bang for your buck, right? I would hit Black Friday Walmart and they have those gigantic stuffed animals, right?
Yes.
And then you can put it in a box that's the size of their bedroom, and they're like, "Oh my God, I got the best present ever." The secret sauce of that is that stuffed animal was $20, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
But they're like riding the dinosaur around the house and like, best thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta think smart with finances on that. So the other piece of this, right? And I think this plays into the triggers, but what about the role that social media plays in exacerbating our holiday blues? And where can we like strike a healthy balance between being too connected in the holiday season?
Yeah. I mean, I've already used the word social media, I think 10 times since I've been talking, right? Because that's the life we live these days. We're all attached to our phones. We're all attached to social media. We all, have these ideas of what our holidays, our lives in general are supposed to look like. And we all know that that's fake, right? We all know we can say that as much as we want to, but our brain doesn't always rationalize that, right? um, so I think it's and I do this already because I want to be present with my family, but I literally set a timer on my phone for my allotted amount of scrolling time, as I call it. Because and I work because I do work global, I, kind of take a little break sometimes in the middle of the day and then I'll pick back up. But I shut down, I put my phone aside. I do not touch my phone typically from 6:30 to 7:30. I know it's only an hour, but it is an hour that after we eat dinner, it is completely dedicated to my family. And we don't turn the TV on. We don't do anything. We play games. We, read a book together, even if you're by yourself, it's still taking that time for yourself. Take a bath, find a new book, read the book read a book, put on some music and just dance, do whatever you want. But it's like finding that time where you shut it off and just focus on what's important to you and what you have in that moment. I think that helps us stay grounded and not focus so much, at least, on social media. And it gives us time to be grateful for the things that we do have, right?
I can agree with that. And I mean, social media, just like we're talking about watching stuff and ads and stuff, is even more toxic for folks and for kids, particularly around the holidays. I know when we had our kids, it was constantly the only things they would watch on YouTube were, I hate to say this, don't cancel me, spoiled children opening just an insane amount of gifts. They would be sent, they get contracts from the toy companies who then send them one of everything of the new line, and they open them and they play games with them and blah, blah, blah. And it's utterly unrealistic, right? But that's what the kids are looking at. So I think, you got to be really careful with social media and kids that are too young. And what a lot of people don't realize, YouTube counts as that. Right? YouTube is a much more insidious form of media for children than network television is.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think that for people that don't have family, or like you said, they do have family, but they're too far away or something, find I want to say find your group of friends. I don't want to bring religion into this, but if you're religious, find a church, find, a group of people. Like we have tons of groups of like on social media that you can find that are specifically for people that are alone during the holidays. Um, and they'll have like meetup groups, or they'll have like this. Well, they'll get online and just talk to each other virtually.
Yeah.
But find something that is going to make you not feel so lonely.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
in, and whether it's reading a book or watching a marathon of your favorite movies, or even if you're like don't want to go out and meet people, if you're an introvert,
Yeah.
just doing anything you can that is going to bring you a little bit of peace and not feel so lonely.
Yeah. And I would actually flip this around also so we can see it from the other angle. If you have in-person friends that might be struggling with loneliness at the holidays, it does not affect your holiday or your pictures or whatever is in your head to invite them.
Absolutely.
Right? I come from a family that when we had a new neighbor in the neighborhood and we knew that they were isolated from family, they were at our house on Christmas morning, right? Christmas breakfast, like the most sort of sacred family time, invite those people in. And even if you're not all year friends with those people, you've now made a connection with somebody and made a difference, right? So I think that is really important. Know your circle. It's tough for us because we work virtually and so often we're really far away. If I was lonely at Christmas, I couldn't be like, Carlie, can I come over for Christmas? Because you live across the country from me.
Right.
But you do have that in-person circle of friends, and you just got to be aware of those kind of things when you're talking about the holidays, particularly like we said earlier, if you mention family and somebody takes takes it tough, right? Extend the invite, right?
Absolutely. Check on your friends.
Yeah.
Even the ones that seem okay. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. My mom is notorious for having random people at all of our events, Thanksgiving, Christmas, anybody, because she has always been that person that is like, oh, you're not doing anything, come over.
Right. And honestly, it puts you in a situation where it's kind of the opposite of what we were saying about you can't be sad on Christmas. It actually makes it hard to be sad on Christmas when you're around a family who's happy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about cultural and like societal factors that contribute to the holiday blues and how we can build awareness around that. So, we've got a whole swath of intersectional identities here at eXp, right? We have 14 resource groups. All of these people experience the holiday blues a little differently, but I think let's touch on the ones that we know, right? I think both of us can speak from a queer experience of holidays, right? I think for me, as a closeted gay boy, Christmas was weird for me, right? Because I come from a place where my parents really wanted me to be something that I wasn't. And even before I came out, I wasn't, right? And Christmas always felt like a time where my parents would drop all that and just love me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But then it brings a sense of dread the after. You know what I mean? Like we're just going to go back to this. Why don't you have a girlfriend? Why aren't you playing football? Like, why don't you want to come work in the auto shop? Like, it was rough as a kid. And then, when I was older and they didn't accept that I was gay, it's weird for me to bring my husband home for the holidays, right?
Yep.
And yeah, it's just one of those things where we could go and everybody would be happy. They would even give him gifts, right? But we really know that they believe my marriage is something that was inspired by Satan.
Right.
I mean, in a quite literal sense.
Yep.
And that, I hope eventually Cody will get over this and marry a woman, right? That's the undertone, no matter how much love there is. So that's a whole set of new sort of cultural factors that play in on my side. What about your experience with that?
Well, so mine was part of it was I used to always get. I was never like a super girly girl growing up. I was more of a tomboy, and mine was always I would get, Barbies and like dresses and things like that. And I'd say, I know this isn't what I want to play with. This isn't what I want to wear. And, that always continued on. But then when I did come out, it was the same thing, right? Like, this is just a phase. And I did not want to bring anybody I was dating to any family events because I didn't want them to get, I don't want to say attacked, right? But I didn't want them to feel any of the negativity that I was getting. So it was a long time before I brought anybody home to any of my family events, for fear for myself, but also for fear for them as well. And it probably wasn't until I always say that my family dynamic and relationship changed when we had Remy, because it was more of like, if you want to have a relationship with her, then you will respect my marriage. You will respect that she has two moms, that we are both her parents. And I feel like that's where the relationship shifted in my family, is when I had Remy. But and then I had a whole different set of things when I was dating someone that was Black, right? And my family was always fine with it. I was New Yorkers. They don't, that like that didn't bother. I have Black people in my family and mixed cousins and all kinds of things. It was my dad's family who was very who had already made racist remarks before. They were country from the country, and would make comments that I was never comfortable with, so I never wanted to bring them around his side of the family ever, because I wasn't going to make anybody else, I was not going to make them feel uncomfortable or feel like they're less than, because that's not the case even though they're just ignorant, honestly.
Yeah. That's, I mean, the person in the world who's closest to me other than my husband is my half sister Ariana, and she's half Black, and my family is very weird about her. Like, she can't stay in the house, she might steal, or objectifying her body in a weird way, or questions about her hair and the particular tone of her skin color. And like, I try my best to not put her in those situations, right? And that's another sort of cultural, societal factor that I can talk about here, is I'm adopted, right? And I knew I was adopted growing up. So the holidays, I don't know what it is about the holidays that would make me wonder where my biological family was and what they were doing without me, right?
Yeah.
And then as I grew up and met my biological family, then it became something where I want my sister to be with me, and lives really far away, so that is always the very, very top of my mind. I always think about my sister not being around me, and then the rest of my family. And then, to some degree, Christmas also, I don't know what it is about this season for me. I don't know if this is real for everybody or you can relate to this, but I think about the people I've lost, right? Even if it's not my first holiday without them, or even if we never had the holidays together, it's a time when you think about those folks,
It is. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, do you have any sort of like success stories or a personal story of how you or someone you've known has sort of overcome these holiday blues?
I'm going to go back to Tiffany really quick, just because yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a person who doesn't really like to talk about my own feelings, but I love to talk about other people's feelings. So when she was saying that she feels sad, and I'm like, then my like therapist hat comes on. Well, tell me about that, right? Like, no,
Yeah.
I was trying to just ask her if she can find where she feels that sadness is coming from, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that does help, right? I mean, because if you're just trying to like push these feelings away, it just is going to store it somewhere else, that then you're going to
Mm.
have issues. So if you're feeling the sadness and the loneliness of missing your family, the friend of mine that I was just talking about, she has been, I kid you not, nonstop rewatching these home videos from when she was a kid with her family, like, and the happy times. And while we think about it and it's sad, it also is like very therapeutic and makes her feel happy, because she looks back at all of these amazing times that she had with her family. She had 45 amazing years with her dad, and 40 amazing years with her mom. So, and she's just watching these videos back of everything, and it's like you don't even remember these memories sometimes, so it's bringing up these old memories that you would completely forgot about, and then it almost brings like that happy feeling back from that time.
Yeah.
So while it's a little sad, it is also making her feel happy.
Yeah. And I actually have a little bit of a pro tip around that, because it's something that's a spiral that I go down. I'll point out the situation that happened this year, right? I lost my dog this year, and it really affected me in a way that I didn't know I was going to be able to get back up from, right?
Yeah.
And I, was looking at internet articles about, I'm obsessively looking at videos of my dog. Like, what can I do? And every time I press play, I sob, right? And then somebody had said, if you watch those videos with someone else and explain to them all of that emotion, like, oh, this is the first time we gave him a dog blanket and he ran around like crazy, and you see this little noise he made, and like that. But then even if you don't have somebody to watch them with, narrate them like you've got somebody sitting next to you.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes saying out loud why watching this video is important can help you process that and move on.
Yeah,
Right. So the
absolutely.
next time you watch it, you're not just, and I don't know why I'm crying. Right. It's just awful. Right. So that's just a pro tip for me. It really worked for me.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think also, just in general, some other tips is doing a lot of self-care during this time.
Mm-hmm.
Buy yourself something nice.
Mm-hmm.
Watch your favorite movies. Indulge in your favorite dessert. I think it's taking care of yourself during this time is the most important.
Yeah.
Right? Talk to your therapist, or if you don't have a therapist, find a therapist. There's so many online resources at this time. Like,
Right here at eXp, we've got the Calm app. Right?
exactly. Use
Yeah.
the Calm app. I mean, I kid you not, we use the Calm app so much. My daughter has it on her iPad, and she listens to the stories all the time.
I'm really hyped that they just told us we're getting access to Noom too, by the way, but that's another story. I think
Yes.
that's going to help with my depression a lot when I can shed some of these pounds.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's another thing, right? Is
Yeah.
I was going to say exercise. Exercise. Every single time I go to therapy, my therapist is like, what kind of exercise have you been doing? because it is such a contributor to your mental health.
It really is. And it really is a big contributor to what we're not talking about here. What we failed to mention is SAD, seasonal affective disorder, right? And that has to do with not being able to go outside because it's cold. And then your vitamin D levels go low, which is a chemical way to make your body depressed and fat, right?
Exactly.
Right? And all of us go through it. But we have to find those other things we can do other than go take a walk if it's too cold, or put on a coat and galoshes and go anyway, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Right.
I have I'm literally trying to find it. I think it's under my bed. Where is it? Look at me. I'm like going everywhere. I think Tiffany took it downstairs. But we have this this light therapy thing that gives you, that's like supposed to be the same as like the sun, right? That, and it was like $20 off of Amazon, but that we specifically use this time of year. It's light therapy. I should probably take it downstairs because we use it every day during this time because we both get seasonal depression. But it's just this little thing that you can plug in, and it's just like a little light thing. And so we love that thing. We also bought an under the desk treadmill. Okay.
Those are popular, and it's a way to do it while you're working.
I bought one for not expensive on Amazon, and then I was really mad because then after I bought it, I went on Marketplace and found the same one on Marketplace for like $30. That's I was like, are you kidding me? But
and it's so much more exercise than what you remember 10 years ago or so when everybody was sitting on a yoga ball, you know, at work. It's better exercise than that, I promise. Yeah.
I use my it's a walking pad. That's what they call it. I use it all the time. When I'm in meetings, I use it. But I'm not walking fast, so I can literally still type while I'm walking on this. But I was sitting down for so many hours a day, and now I'm just walking on my treadmill. And I feel happier. You know, I finished my day and I'm like, oh, I walked 5 miles today.
Yeah.
It just makes me
the only time me and Lee used to go to walk. We go on walks when the season is right and we can go outside and do our walks. We love to go on walks. But now we've got 2 puppies that we have yet to leash train. And the time to do that is now when it's winter. So that's not great. But the most I walked this year was the eXp Con, honey. That was a cool girl.
Yeah. See, I have to take my dogs for a walk every day. And it does not feel like, for me, it's not like, oh, it's beautiful out, let me go walk the dogs. It's like, I gotta go walk.
It's a chore. Yeah.
Because one of my dogs walks amazing, and the other one, it does, like, it makes me angry to walk them almost, because she's the worst walking dog ever. So my therapy walk is now on my treadmill.
There you go. Whatever you got to do. Put on some jams. Yeah. Yeah. My sort of happy place, I recommend to anyone, if you listen to music and you like music, vinyl records still exist. There is nothing like the feeling of lying down on the floor and listening to a vinyl record.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
The music overcomes you in a way because you kind of had to work for it, right? It's not like sticking your headphones and playing on the treadmill. You know what I mean? Which is great in its own way because that's your exercise and that's your thing. But for me, this takes me to another planet. Yeah. Right? That's an out-of-body experience to lay down on the ground and put on Alabama Shakes and have my moment, you know? I also think something really, really important for me is a disconnect from reality. I like to, I have an Audible subscription, and I listen to books that are fantasy. So they're not from this world. They are not real. They are not, they are, let me be transported elsewhere for a little while. And I listen to that in the shower, and I listen to that in the car anytime I'm driving by myself. That helps me immensely. Other than that, first thing in the morning when I wake up, I go deal with the dogs, and then I sit down and I play video games for an hour or 2 hours before I ever start work.
What?
Seriously, because I wake up pretty early in the morning. The dogs get me up. I'm usually up at 6 or so. But yeah, playing a video game, it's such a good way to detach yourself from the world for a minute. And that helps me level set so that when I can come back into the real world, I don't have all of that jumble of, oh, my mind's been racing all morning and now I'm going to dump it all on you on my first meeting.
Yeah. Video games make me stressed.
Well, you're playing the wrong video games.
No, it's because I'm just like, my whole body moves with it, right? And my shoulders are up like this. I look
You need to play
spastic.
Minecraft
I
or
look
something
spastic.
calm. Play Animal Crossing. There you go.
I do like Just Dance. I play Just Dance with Remy.
Just Dance is a great workout. Yes, it's a great way.
It's super fun too.
It's super fun. You get to look like an idiot for a
Yep.
minute. It's fantastic. I always loved those games. Yeah.
Yes. And I do the opposite in the morning. I have my coffee, I write in my grateful journal. Sometimes I go take a yoga class.
Yeah, but still, the thing is, you are not during those times focusing on what you've got to do for the rest of the day. You're focusing on you, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a really, really lovely episode. I always love being able to talk to you. Like I said, you're one of my favorite people at eXp. If anybody wants to learn more information about diversity, equity, and inclusion, you can check out eXp DEI on Workplace. Please subscribe to the Culturecast for more episodes like this. And please check out the Healthy Mind Collective on Workplace as well. And join and follow, and you'll hear a lot from Carlie and a lot from a lot of really cool people in that collective. As always, stay tuned to our One eXp newsletter that comes out on the first and third Wednesday of every month. You can just find One eXp on Workplace and see that every time. We usually post that in every resource group too, so if you're join any of those, you can find it there. And with that, we'll leave you. And I give Tiffany a big gay hug from me. And here's a big gay hug to everybody in my audience. And we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us.